All right, so get ready because we're going deep today.
Yeah.
Going deep into something that I think we can all relate to, at least a little bit.
Yeah.
And, we always like to go straight to the source. And today that source is Reddit.
Oh, Reddit.
Yeah, advice.
Oh, boy.
So get this. Okay, you've been with your boyfriend for 5 years.
5 years.
Things are great. But his dad is just a little too much.
Oh, no.
A little too handsy, yeah.
Yeah, I think everyone's probably encountered that at one point or another in their life.
So uncomfortable.
Yeah, and it's tricky because it's like you said, you've been with your boyfriend for 5 years.
Right.
So this is not like a brand new relationship where you're like, oh, I can easily just get out of this.
Right.
You've been with this guy for a while, so you've probably established a relationship with the dad as well.
And that's what makes this so tough because this woman,
Yeah.
she is saying that, he's always putting his arms around her,
Mm.
holding on for too long, like even when she doesn't reciprocate.
Oh.
And then he makes these jokes and then he hugs her again.
Oh, so he's making excuses to touch her.
Exactly. And it's happening like every single weekend
Oh, God.
when she's over there at their place.
That's a lot.
And she's starting to dread going over there.
Yeah, I mean, it's totally understandable that would be a really uncomfortable situation for anyone to be in.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it really does highlight this, like how personal boundaries can be.
Yes, very much so.
And what might be totally normal and friendly for one person can be so uncomfortable and like a violation for another.
Yeah, it's like we all have those invisible lines.
Right.
And it's so important to respect those.
And it sounds like in this case, those lines are being crossed.
Yeah, definitely.
So she's like, okay, I've been with this guy for 5 years. I don't want to like stir up a bunch of family drama,
Right.
but I'm feeling so uncomfortable.
Yeah, what do I do?
So what does she do? She goes to the internet.
Oh, of course.
She goes to Reddit
Where else would you go?
to ask for advice. And of course, with Reddit, you get such a mix
Oh, a mixed bag of responses, I can imagine.
of responses.
Yeah.
It's either like, go for the jugular,
Yeah.
tell them off, or be like really, really subtle about it.
Okay, interesting. So there's like two camps. The direct approach and the subtle approach.
Yeah, and some people even brought up like, well, what's his culture?
Right.
Like maybe this is totally normal.
Yeah, cultural context is super important.
Yeah. So it's really interesting
Absolutely.
how this like one seemingly simple situation
Yeah.
can bring up so many different points of view.
It's a microcosm of like, the different ways that people approach these kinds of things and how diverse, people's opinions and experiences can be.
Totally. And it's so interesting too how many people chimed in on the comments with their own stories
Oh, I bet.
of like similar situations.
But I've been there.
Yeah, and some of them had like really serious consequences.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, sometimes these things can escalate. And it's like, it really underscores the importance of setting those boundaries early on.
Absolutely. Because it's not just hypothetical.
No, it's real life.
Like this is something that people deal with every day.
Exactly. And it's like sometimes it's easy to dismiss it as like, oh, it's just a hug or oh, it's just a little touch. But it can really affect people in a deep way.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, okay, so you've got this woman.
Yeah.
She's trying to figure out like what to do in a situation where she's clearly feeling uncomfortable.
Yeah.
She doesn't want to cause a bunch of family drama.
Right.
But she also wants to be true to herself.
Yeah. And she wants to feel safe and respected in her boyfriend's home.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So this is exactly why we do this.
That's why we do these deep dives.
Yeah, because it's so fascinating to kind of unpack these situations.
Yeah, because I think a lot of people can relate to this on some level.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And to think about like, well, what would I do?
Yeah, put yourself in her shoes.
Exactly. So let's get into some of the specific advice that the Reddit community offered
Okay, let's break it down.
and talk about like the potential consequences of each approach.
Yeah, what could go right? What could go wrong?
Stay tuned.
This is going to be good.
So some of this advice is pretty wild.
Mm.
Okay, so one commenter was like, be super direct. Just tell him straight up,
Oh, boy.
I don't like being touched.
Mm.
It makes me uncomfortable.
Wow.
No, not even hugs. I make exceptions for your son.
That's bold.
Yeah, talk about laying down the law.
Yeah, that's definitely one way to do it. But it does make you wonder, like, how would that actually play out in real life? Like, would it create this huge, awkward tension?
Yeah.
Would the dad feel, like, totally embarrassed?
Maybe.
Like, it's hard to say.
Right, because we don't know what his intentions are.
Exactly. Like, is he just clueless?
Right.
Or is he, intentionally being inappropriate?
Yeah, so it's a tricky one.
It is.
Okay, so then there's this other comment
Oh, boy.
that was like, okay, if you don't want to be direct, just push back. Like twist his nipples, pull his ear,
Oh my God.
be the cat that scratches back.
I mean, I guess that's one way to set a boundary, but probably not the most mature or effective.
Yeah, I think that one was meant to be more funny
Yeah.
than like actual advice.
Yeah. Yeah. But it does speak to like the frustration that people feel
Right.
when they're in this kind of situation.
Absolutely.
Mm.
Okay, so then there was another suggestion that was like, okay, maybe you just kind of shrug him off every time.
Subtle approach.
Yeah, like just avoid eye contact.
Mm.
Take a step back.
Yeah. Hope he gets the hint.
And if he doesn't, then you could be more direct.
Yeah, that's a little bit more gradual.
Right.
It's like testing the waters,
Exactly.
but it also relies on him picking up on those cues.
Right. What if he's totally oblivious?
Exactly.
Then what do you do?
Yeah, then you might have to resort to a more direct approach.
Exactly. Okay, so then some people were like, no, this is on the boyfriend.
Bring in the cavalry.
And like, you need to tell him straight up, like, hey, this is inappropriate and you need to talk to your dad.
Yeah, put him on the spot.
Right.
Make him deal with it.
Because maybe he can handle it in a way that doesn't cause like as much of a conflict.
Yeah, maybe he can have that conversation with his dad in a way that's like, a little bit more delicate.
Right. Or he's like, Dad, what are you doing?
Right, exactly.
Like, come on.
But it does put him in a really tough position.
It does.
Like you're putting him right in the middle.
Totally. And then there was this one comment that was like, whoa.
Oh.
That was like, I had to cut off a family member
Oh, no.
because they were acting like this.
Wow.
So they're like totally blacklisted now.
That's intense.
Yeah. And it just really shows you like how serious this can be.
Yeah, it's not something to take lightly.
Like it can actually have real consequences.
Absolutely.
I
And
think
it's like, it's sad that it had to get to that point,
Right.
but it shows you that sometimes you have to draw that line in the sand.
Absolutely. But
Yeah.
then like amidst all of this talk about boundaries and confrontation,
Yeah.
there were these other people that were like, hold on a second.
Yeah.
What about cultural differences?
That's a really good point.
Like maybe in his culture, this is totally normal.
Yeah, we can't just assume that everyone has the same ideas about physical touch and what's appropriate.
Exactly. Like maybe he grew up in a family where hugging and touching was just like super common.
Right. Like maybe it's a sign of affection and he doesn't mean anything by it.
Yeah. And that's why it's so important to consider the context.
Yeah, absolutely.
Before you just jump to conclusions.
Right.
So it's like, okay, we've got this woman.
Yeah.
She's in a really tough situation.
She is.
She's got to weigh all these different factors, the
Yeah.
risks, the rewards, the cultural considerations,
Yeah.
and ultimately decide what feels right for her.
It's a lot to process.
It is.
Yeah.
And it's something that a lot of people can probably relate to.
Yeah, I think most of us have been in situations where we've had to navigate those tricky boundaries.
Absolutely. And that's why we wanted to do this deep dive
Yeah, to help people think through these things.
and to feel empowered to make choices that are right for them.
Exactly. And to know that they're not alone in this.
Yeah, there are other people out there going through similar things.
And it's okay to speak up for yourself.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And speaking of speaking up, if you're enjoying this deep dive,
Yeah.
don't forget to hit that subscribe button.
And give us a like.
Yeah, your support means a lot to us.
It really does.
And you can also check out our YouTube channel,
Shauna Pelage.
where we delve even deeper into these topics.
Yeah, we've got a whole community over there.
Come join us.
It's a lot of fun.
Okay, so we've talked about the woman's perspective.
Yeah.
We've talked about the advice from Reddit.
We've analyzed the potential consequences.
But there's one piece of the puzzle that we haven't really talked about yet.
Oh, and who is that?
The boyfriend.
Oh, the boyfriend.
He's like right in the middle of this.
He is the missing link.
Okay, so we've got the girlfriend. Yeah. She's uncomfortable. We've got the dad who might be totally oblivious. And we've got all this advice from Reddit, ranging from be super direct to maybe consider cultural differences.
Right, and it's all good advice in theory.
Yeah, but in practice, it's like, how do you actually navigate this?
Exactly, and I think that's where the boyfriend comes in.
Yeah, he's like the key to this whole thing
He's the missing piece of the puzzle.
because he's right in the middle of it.
He's got his girlfriend who he loves and cares about, and he's got his dad who, he's probably got a long-standing relationship with.
And family dynamics can be so complicated.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's like he doesn't want to pick sides,
Right, and ideally he shouldn't have to.
but he also needs to be supportive of his girlfriend.
Exactly. He needs to show her that he's on her side, that he understands her feelings, and that he's willing to do something about it.
And that's where communication is so important.
Oh, yeah.
He needs to really listen to his girlfriend and validate her feelings.
And not just brush it off like, oh, you're being too sensitive.
Right. Or like, oh, that's just how my dad is.
Exactly, because That's not helpful.
No, it's not. It's dismissive.
It is, and it can really damage the relationship.
Totally. Because it shows that he's not taking her concerns seriously.
Right, and that he's not willing to prioritize her well-being.
And then he also needs to have a conversation with his dad,
Yeah, that's the other piece of this.
which might be super uncomfortable.
Oh, I'm sure it would be.
But it's a conversation that needs to happen.
Absolutely, because if the dad is truly clueless,
Right.
then he needs to be made aware of how his actions are affecting his girlfriend.
Exactly. He needs to understand that what he might see as a friendly gesture
Yeah,
is actually making her feel uncomfortable and violated.
right. And it might take some time for that to sink in.
It might.
But hopefully the dad is receptive to feedback and willing to adjust his behavior.
Right. And the boyfriend can really play a role in facilitating that conversation.
Exactly. He can kind of act as a mediator between them.
Right. And explain things from both perspectives.
And hopefully find a solution that works for everyone.
But here's the thing. His response, or lack thereof,
Yeah,
could really make or break this relationship.
absolutely.
Because if he dismisses his girlfriend's feelings
Yeah.
or takes his dad's side,
Or doesn't do anything at all.
that's a huge red flag.
It's a sign that he's not respecting her boundaries.
And that he's not prioritizing her needs,
Exactly.
which could lead to resentment and ultimately the end of the relationship.
Yeah, it's a slippery slope.
But on the other hand, if he's supportive and understanding, and he actually takes action,
Yeah,
that could really strengthen their bond.
absolutely. Because it shows that he's committed to the relationship.
And that he's willing to work through tough situations.
Exactly.
So yeah, the boyfriend's role in this is huge.
It is. It's pivotal.
And it's really a test of his character.
It is. It shows what kind of partner he is.
Exactly. So what does all of this mean?
Well, I think it means that while Reddit can be a great resource for advice,
Yeah.
the real power to resolve this situation lies within the relationship itself.
It's about communication and understanding
Yeah.
and respect.
Exactly.
And being willing to work together to find a solution that works for everyone.
And it's about recognizing that boundaries are important.
Absolutely. And that everyone deserves to feel safe and respected in their relationships.
Couldn't say it better myself.
So wow, this deep dive has taken us through a lot.
It has.
From family dynamics to cultural considerations to the importance of communication and boundaries.
It's been a journey.
And we hope that it's given you some food for thought.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, these are real life issues that people face.
And we want you to know that you're not alone.
Exactly, and that there are ways to navigate these challenges.
And remember, if you enjoy this deep dive,
Yeah.
don't forget to hit that subscribe button.
And give us a like.
It really does help us out.
It does.
And if you want even more thought-provoking discussions,
Yeah.
check out Shauna Pelage on YouTube.
We'd love to have you join our community.
Thanks for joining us on Voices of the Soul.
Until next time.
Keep those conversations going.
And remember,
Your voice matters.